Hello, Jeff. I'm at the beach.
Yeah, that looks really good, actually. That's your place on the East Coast, right?
Yes,
So,
it's underwater right now. That's that little jetty right over there is where we live. Meow meow.
yeah,
I
just under
figured
that palm tree.
it's a summer break, so I said I'll take the background off and we'll put this on. And lua 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 lua.
And I thought I'll do nothing and have British Columbia behind me again. So,
You did
actually,
not give 100%.
no, you know what? You should see the contraption I got set up for this thing today. Um, it's
Ah.
it's it's bad, but we're going to try and be good. And really, having British Columbia, the home and native land of both of
Mhm,
us, behind us,
mhm.
little that was a little tip of the hat, a little shout out to where we come from. So
This is a good one.
yeah, I like that. Now,
This is a good one.
yeah. So what did you do this weekend? Last night, for those of you that don't know, we actually talked about
Just
the show
everybody.
this week. Yeah, exactly. So you were in Long Beach last night, but where were you this weekend?
I was just in Hollywood. I did shows in I did at the Laugh Factory, Improv, and Comedy Store all weekend. So it was
So
a
the,
good
the
time.
COVID has been really interesting because you've been able to stay a lot closer to home than than you used to, because you used to be gone all the time.
Right.
And actually, I sent a picture of our friend Matt McAndrew and his band. I should even know the name of the band, Rain
Should.
City. I should know Rain City, the Rain City something. Sorry, Matt, but I'm getting you a little bit of plug here.
The
Anyways,
Rain City water boots.
yeah, they were on at the Virgin Hotel, which is the old Hard Rock, this weekend in vinyl. Now it's called 24 something. And the cool part about this is Matt was one of the finalists on The Voice years ago. Let
Hmm.
me just find out. What is Matt's band's?
Rain City Drive.
Rain City Drive. Check him out.
Rain
Matt
City
McAndrew.
Drive.
Yeah. So we got us.
RainCityDrive.com.
That's it. And Matt's a great guy. And Ian and Matt kind of do
He's been
some
out to
gigs.
shows.
Yeah, he's been out, and you guys have done some gigs together in Vegas, right? And so I guess it took me about 5 minutes to get to the story, but Matt was saying they were on with Memphis Mayhem and a couple other bands. Something anew. Sorry, guys, but Memphis Mayhem was awesome. Matt was on before them, but what they're saying is everything got so backed up with COVID that they're just happy to have a slot in touring with some of these bands because everything got put on hold until in 2020. So now all these bands are all fired up, ready to go. So they just jumped in, and he figures sometime in early 2023 they'll be able to kind of launch their own tour. And look at this! I even got his T-shirt here. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? There they
That's a
are.
good looking T-shirt.
There's the man. Hey, so I got you a T-shirt, but I know you'd never wear this color. So guess what color I got you?
What'd you get me? Purple.
You wouldn't wear that one either. I got you a black T-shirt, so you can wear it on stage. I said to Matt, I said, I'm going to get Ian a T-shirt so you can wear it on stage and pump it up. So Matt's great guy.
That's awesome.
Rain City Drive. Check him out. Matt's super guy, and it's really fun when Ian and him are together and doing gigs at the same time, which they do in Vegas once in a while for different entities, let's call them. So it's good. So
He's very talented, and he's girls. He's handsome. He's handsome. He's not not like me, Marla Hooch. What a looker.
he's close to as tall as Ian. He's about 6'3", and yeah, he's a good guy.
135, typical rocker.
He's about $165, But we took him out for dinner after the other day, and
He's Johnny Gaudreau with height.
Johnny's a good-looking kid too.
Yeah.
So great hair, and so, anyways, Matt McAndrew, Rain City Drive. Hey, and all our Canadian friends, okay. And I know there's lots of you guys out there. They're doing a tour through Canada in September. Yep, starting, I believe, maybe in Halifax. I know they're in Vancouver on September 25th. So I'm going to try and see if I can get up there and take my brother, see if he'll come down to Vancouver and see them September 25th in Vancouver. But they're in Edmonton and Calgary. I don't know where else they are, but good guys, a lot of fun, good music. But the group that started was heavy metal, and it was. I wish we could post I got about a 10-second clip of those guys, and I sent it to all the guys that work with it, and they were just going for it. I said the clip. I go, "It's my Friday."
It's my Friday.
These guys just
I'm
screaming
I'm
into
getting
the mic.
lead out.
They, no doubt, I brought the average age of the crowd up by about 20 to 25 years, but that's
Good for
okay.
you.
You know, you have to have the top of the scale, and that's what we were. We were the top of the scale the other night. But
Just letting people know, hey,
yeah,
the old get outside. No, elder gentleman. You should wear your elder gentleman t-shirt.
hey, the old get outside. That's
The shut-ins are getting out.
That's right. We gotta start having Jim Robson do the intro to this show for those
That
of
would be
you who
good.
can't get out. Shut-ons. Hey, Jim Robson, all-time best, saying hello to everyone before every Canucks game.
Yeah.
If you don't know who Jim Robson is, look him up.
Look him up. He's the best. I met him in I think February there. He was very kind. He was very confused though. He's, I've seen some of your videos. I don't understand what you're gonna do. You're very, very racy.
Is that what he left at, like, talk about leaving at the top of the career.
Yeah.
Like, he was awesome. And he just said, yeah, I'm good. And that was it. So we used to first tune in to listen to Jim Robson. It's Robson, Robson, Robson. And used to listen to him, tune him in on the radio up in up north, way up there. My dad had a fancy radio, so I could listen to Canucks games at night.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
My dad had a fancy radio with both AM and FM.
well, and we could listen to air traffic control on it too, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think
Okay.
Mom's still got that radio. I'm going to
Fancy.
take a picture of it and we're going to post it. I'm going to go see her, I think, in August. So
Are you?
I'm going to get
When are you going
there.
up in August? Oh God.
Well, I haven't decided yet, but I'm thinking the second or third week of August.
Next year, so Carrie Ann goes to the East Coast in August all the time, the beginning of August. And my favorite time in Terrace, British Columbia is Riverboat Days.
Yeah.
And that is the beginning of August. And next year I'm going to go for Riverboat Days. I'm going up and I'm causing some river havoc. Going up.
Yeah, we should go together because Riverboat
Yes.
Days is the first weekend in August, right? So
Mhm.
Mom was all choked because it's the absolute, like, it's the first, I don't know, it's the first, second, third, or whatever it is. It's third, fourth, fifth, or whatever it is this year. Mom likes it the next weekend. I don't know. I can't really explain why, but yeah, I thought about trying to run up there, but the Riverboat Days actually might be this upcoming weekend, which would start it on what, the 31st? Yeah, because a long weekend is a long weekend, the second. Anyways, doesn't matter. Check it out again. Google Terrace Riverboat Days. It's a lot of fun and they do a really good job. And one of the coolest things is they take this little strip mall where Mr. Mike's is and some of the other things, they fill it all in with sand and they have this big beach volleyball tournament over the course of the week and weekend at, I guess it is only weekend, but over the course of the weekend at Riverboat Days, and all the young people participate and all the olds like me will go down to watch once in a while. So
You go
It's
down and
kind
watch
of a
the
cool thing.
parade. You guys get your local spot, sit at the parade and let everything know. Then Kelly brings a car from Tilden by and waves at everybody. Mr. Jingles.
well,
Mr.
I thought,
Jingles.
is Kelly still there? What happened? I thought
He still
Kelly
lives there, but he
sold.
doesn't have the old Tilden rental car place anymore.
What's he doing?
Just sitting around,
Just so everybody knows now.
just sitting around looking at people, judging.
Well,
That's our
that's
Kelly.
cool. Good for him.
Good for
I
him.
think
that's right.
everybody should do that. So
Absolutely. I've
So
seen you
who-
do it. I've seen you do it in the morning.
yeah, I
Walk out
do it
with
at
your-
your house. Yeah,
Yeah,
walk
you
around.
walk out with your coffee and look out the window.
yeah, yeah.
Ah.
Well, you know what? Here's what happens in the morning when I'm at Ian and Carrie Ann's place. I get up because I wake up every morning about 6 or 6:30.
Yeah,
So I go
you're
out
crazy.
and Cab's great though. She's always got all the coffee set up. So I go out and have the coffee, and then the donkeys come out, the 3 dogs. Well, it used to be just 2. Now we got 3. We got Henry there too. So I take them out because Cab's usually gone really early. Ian's in there doing his
Sleeping.
thing, whatever he's doing. Yeah.
Not
So
waking
the
up
dogs-
early.
So I take the dogs out for a quick little around the block and with my
Ian's
coffee.
in there doing whatever he's doing. I'm building
Yeah.
a space shuttle.
Yeah. So
I love it.
I don't know
I don't
where
know.
we go with that. But you know, after that comment, today's guest is
Today's guest should be
he-
here.
yeah.
Be here any moment. He's a color commentator. No, he's not. He's play by play.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
screwed that up. play-by-play for the Detroit Red Wings on Bally Sports, which used to be Fox Sports West. No, Fox up. You know how they were separated.
Midwest. It was Fox Mid. I think they were Fox Midwest. They were called, and they were Fox. It was a lot easier to keep track of when it was Fox and Bally's, but
Bally's just. I think a gym's gonna break out every time. Every time I mention Bally's.
And I think of Bally's the hotel that was here, right? So, but
it's a Bally's is a hotel. It's a gym, it's the Bally's Hotel is who owns it. But he's going to be here. We're going to bring him in a second. Not much new in the hockey world. Let's get to our guest. Shall we get to our guest?
Let's do it.
Today's guest recently voted the top duo in broadcasting in the NHL by The Athletic. Originally from Canada, now living in Detroit, fighting crime. It's Ken Daniels. Hey, Ken, how are you?
Would I be Robin or Batman?
You'd be Batman for sure.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
I got the size of Robin, though.
Size of Robin.
Yeah.
I hope we're keeping this.
Boy wonder. The boy wonder. Hey, Sharpie, I'm a boy wonder.
Yeah. Nothing but the best. You and Mick.
Thank
My
you.
old friend Mick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Top. I mean, being number one is one thing, but being a broadcaster for an Original Six team must be pretty special, because I always talk to Ian about it. And to me, when the Original Six teams are good, it really makes a difference in the league. But broadcasting, for one, must be extra special, because you guys pretty much almost play all your games. Oh, they're almost all home games, because the crowd that travels with that team is incredible, right?
Yeah. You go under the buildings and you watch the pregame warm up and you see all the fans in the red or the white jerseys standing down by the bench. Is very cool. And in the heyday, when I say heyday, I mean, Cups in 96, 97. I missed that when I came for the 97, 98 and 02, when you had Hull and Robitaille and everybody, the crowds, and Shanny, it was just crazy. But still, even Datsuk and Zetterberg through the years. So, and even now, it's wonderful to see. And you know what I loved about this year, even though we can talk about it, we called a lot of games off the television the last couple of years because of COVID. And we talked about Mo Sider and raising the ranks, and I'd see those graphics come up and there's Sharpie's name on there. I love seeing that. It was. Why did I texted you guys? It was funny just to see your name in there. How did you feel when Mo was passing you?
I love it.
Well,
that's actually
Ian's like, get his name off there. Actually, it's pretty cool, and that's one of the things you don't get to pick who you play for unless today's game a little bit more players. We can talk about that as well, but players back when I came in and the guys that wherever you went, that's where you went. So I didn't have a choice, and the great thing is the time I did spend was with an Original Six team with the Red Wings. And you have all these iconic names coming, and now we've got Mo coming up, and this kid is unbelievable. So I didn't even know this stuff till Kenny started sending some text out. Hey, here he comes. And then to Kenny's like, hey, Sharks, you better enjoy it, because he's going to blow your doors off. So, so I did enjoy it. I had a little chuckle seeing my name up there with, Reed Larson was there. One of my fishing buddy from my first camp in Detroit. Reed would take me fishing in Flint when we were there. And then, of course, the legend himself, is on there. And now you got the young fella coming up who looks like it's the start of the rise here in Detroit again. Made some adjustments with players they brought in for next season. It looks like things, all systems are turning towards go in Detroit again, especially in the Atlantic Division, which is a really tough division, which is great to see. So any press, there's no such thing as bad press, right, Kenny? Yep. But I'll take it as long as they want to compare me and him. And then sooner or later, I'll just drift off and that'll be the end of it. But it's great. God.
It still won't be the end of it.
I'm not going anywhere.
You're still flying high. You're still flying.
That's
You're
right.
Up there. You're still. I
was so good at it, I had to change careers.
Kenny, I got a question for you. How do you ride the edge of supporting your team but not being a homer?
Good question, and I think the Athletic poll that you referenced of more than 5,000 fans, I believe, and they commented on that when they did the survey and the results, was that we are, and I rely more on Mickey, who We are homers, and we should be, because we want the team to win.
Right.
You want them to succeed because everybody's happier, and every home broadcast is like that. I've done many national games, and it's to the point where I remember the days when Gary Thorne and Bill Clement, ESPN, and Gary did such a terrific job, and people would say, oh, they like Colorado more, and Colorado people, they would like Detroit more. Let me tell you, there's no I in team, but there's two I's in invoice. They don't give it. Okay, we when you do a national game, we really don't care. You want a 7-game series. When it comes to game 6 and you don't want overtime, you go, okay, we can get another paycheck out of this for 7th game. Maybe you're rooting for the other team, maybe if you're paid game by game. But I think we ride it that, as Mickey will say, boy, if you're Detroit, you wouldn't have liked that call on you, even if it's against the other team. So I think that's there. We ride it. And I'll say this because I know the Colorado announcers, and if you were to watch a Colorado game and the opposition scores, they'll honestly, the goal call, and I've heard it from them and a few others too, will be scores.
Yes.
Scores.
So good.
Really? That's a disservice to the game, and I won't do that. So some people will say,
makes me laugh, Kenny. I got to be honest with you. It makes me laugh.
Like, yeah, when they do that?
Scores.
Oh, scores. I mean, it's just wrong.
But that's
what I'm. It's a beautiful goal.
Right, but that's what I'm asking. Like, how do you ride that? Like those guys that go a little too far, and you're able not to do that, right?
I would never. And I think if a goal is scored late in the game and they tie up the game, I think you're a little upset. And if it were baseball and you score a home run, you hit a home run in the 9th inning, the whole crew's going, damn it, we want to get out of here, because you can go to the middle of the night, you can go to the morning, right? Baseball, I used to work baseball for the Blue Jays, and I hated when they tied up games late. You wanted the game to end. Here it's overtime and maybe a shootout, you don't care. But if the other team scores and Red Wings scores, and the other team scores, there's a difference. There's a level of excitement there when Detroit scores that will not be matched by the opposition. It might be close if it's a great goal, because if it's a great goal, I'm not doing a disservice to the goal nor the game. I won't do it. And I think fans of Detroit hopefully have come to recognize that. Yes, we want Detroit. So that's the line you go. They should know we want Detroit to win, but they also know that we're professional enough that the game is the thing and no one's bigger than the game.
That's awesome.
I think, Kenny, and just to kind of just ride in along that, one of the things is when we watch you and Mick, and of course we go way back, but watching you guys are the game. Yeah, the fans want the win and loss, but it's about entertainment. I find you guys tell a story during the game too, and you talk about the other team's players. And like Vince Scully back in the day of baseball, he could tell you from Visalia, California, and he'd talk about the visiting team player at bat, like you were like, wow, like. And I find that's something that you guys do really well. Is you know what? Detroit is who we want to see win, obviously, at the end of the day. But you guys do a great job of being able to educate people and talk about some of the things that the other team's players are bringing as well. And, over the last couple of years, when things maybe haven't been going as well later in the season, it just kind of keeps people interested. And you guys always, Mick is awesome, but you always bring a level of like, hey, this is you want to know this about this player, and that's something that you guys do really well, and you should be applauded for that. Obviously, the Athletics realize that, and that's awesome.
Thank you. And we try to do that. And believe me, I'll go in with more stuff on the opposition, which I think sometimes I listen to and I go, okay, maybe that was too much and you got to, curtail it just a little bit. And I'm always conscious of that, riding that line. But I also think we have to sell the great players in the game when they're up and coming, whether it be Brady, Tkachuk, right? Either the Tkachuk boys. When you want to sell them, or other guys coming in the league, you want to know about this guy, whether it be Trevor Zegras. Would we think that Mo Seider should have won? And even going forward, Rookie of the Year over Zegras? Yes, but you want to sell Zegras. Where did he come from? With these skills, or whether it be U.S. National Team Development Program. They're in Plymouth, so our area. We try to sell guys where they're from here. Alex DeBrincat played in Farmington Hills. He played roller hockey with my late son, Jamie. My son, Jamie, told me, Dad, you got to see this kid. He's a stud. I go, Jamie, he's 5'7". He's my size, man. He goes, Dad, he's a stud. He's sick. And sure enough, he wound up being right. And Alex and I laugh about that. Jamie was a goalie and Alex could beat him whenever he wanted. So just bringing stories like that to life. And when you say when the team isn't good, and I think we'll be much better this year, you're right. We do try to deflect a little bit. And I think when you're blowing out in games 11-2 and 9-2, Arizona, whatever that score was, and thankfully some of those games we didn't do was ESPN, and I didn't have to deal with some of those. But the ones that you do, like that afternoon in Pittsburgh and 11 goals go in, you go, holy crap. But you do try to deflect, sell the other guys. Maybe you're talking about Malkin, you're talking about Crosby, and much as Detroit will hate Crosby, that's okay, but don't ignore the accomplishments. So when you do run out of things to say about Detroit, and you don't want to hamper them, you do go the other way. And I think there's a nice way to sell things. I remember the story this year, and we laughed at, and Doc Emmerich called me, and he laughed too. And I love getting notes from other guys around the league where they say, we just laughed out loud, because they'll tune in. And I think Mickey and I have that chemistry, which I think is so wonderful because we're good friends. And I hope that comes across. And many
Absolutely.
broadcast teams like you two, maybe you're not great friends. I know you are. But some broadcast teams like Tom Cheek and Jerry Howarth, Blue Jays baseball for many years. And I'd worked for the Blue Jays for a while. They were not close, but on the air, they were great. But you could tell when they were separate. Maybe I knew. With Mickey and me, it's certainly not like that. I was talking one night and I tried to explain, as we did this year, and you talk about deflecting in the analytics world. Obviously, Mickey's not into the analytics world. I'm not. I think there's also the eye test, not just analytics. So I'm talking about expected goals ratio, what you're expected to score in a year. And at the time, maybe Lucas Raymond, and the numbers came up from people much smarter than I, who had the expected goals. Maybe Lucas Raymond was 12, and he had scored 16 at that point. So I said to Mickey, as we're explaining the chart, to educate people on this so they know going forward that the next generation is into this, maybe too much for our generation perhaps. But I said to Mickey, and look at where you see on the graph here, Mick, where Lucas Raymond's expected goal total is 12, but he scored 16. And Mickey, in just this little line, made more people laugh than I ever know. Mickey said, expected by whom? And you think about it. And I said, well, grammatically, Mick, you're bang on. Whom was very good, but expected by whom? Exactly. Like, who is expecting this? Well, you take into a lot of accounts of ratios and chances and all this. So, but that's just him, right? So those are little stories that we love. And if we can make people laugh in a broadcast, that's what we go in trying to do.
Do you have to calm him down every so often? Like, I feel like he's more
passionate.
I'm more you. Or
Oh,
yeah.
That's okay. You want to compare me to Mickey? That I'll take that.
Yeah, you love the enthusiasm, and I think we know each other well enough. He knows my cadence. I know when to back off. Sometimes it's early in a game, and he's on the referees, and I'll go down to the room before the game, whether it be linesman or Dean Morton, who ref for a long time, or Dan O'Halloran, and I try to go down because I have an affection for the refs, because I ref for so many years, and I grew up refereeing because I knew I couldn't play as well as I wanted, my size, that I could referee. So I did that. And so junior B and through the Greater Toronto Hockey League refereed for years.
Awesome.
So
I didn't know that.
yeah. So I went down to the room before the games and I'd see the refs, and inevitably when I leave, they'd say, tell Mick to take it easy on us. So Mickey always had this relationship with the refs, or that's a crappy call. And for Mick, it's not always on the refs. It's New York, as he likes to call it, and the powers that be, and how they call the game or how they rule the game. And Mickey will go on about, that's not a hook, come on, like that. But I go, Mick, it's around the gloves. They're going to call it every time. That's the standard. Well, they shouldn't. Come on. I go, Mick. And then when he gets really off, I just sort of go silent. I let him rant. And sometimes silence is golden, because people know, and then they laugh, and people will tell me, oh yeah, Ken's going silent. Oh yeah, just letting Mick rant. You just got to know when to step out, but people love it. It's Mick. He can get away with that. They love it.
Yeah.
Jeff, you got a question?
Well, no, I would agree. I think, and our old friend Dean Morton, who just retired this year, was a Detroit Red Wing draft pick, and Morty he did his 1,000th game, and then off to the sunset. So it'll be interesting to see what Dean Morton does. Great guy. A couple times in Vegas, we had mutual friends that we'd sit near, and he'd be banging on the glass during the game. And, because Morty doesn't care, and the people sitting around the area were like, what's going on here? But he was a great guy. But I do agree with Mick on how these calls and how some of this stuff gets kind of filtered down to the referees from Toronto and New York specifically. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm interested on your take, Kenny, on this year's playoffs, because I thought overall there was a couple places where they could have made some calls, but I thought overall this year, I don't think you could argue with the two teams that ended up there in the end. Obviously, I thought the refereeing. Tell me what. I mean, you watch a ton of games every year. You not only do you watch them live, but you also watch them when you're not doing them. Did you see a difference in the way they officiate in the playoffs, or did you think it was kind of the same?
I think it was kind of the same. And I saw Dave
Okay.
Jackson, who was working for one of the networks. I get mixed up which one it was. I think it was ESPN. And Dave would say when he went through the numbers for the standard that they have, whatever that standard is. And sometimes that standard changes ref to ref, but you got two refs in a game. And that's when you get frustrated, I guess, for fans. He said it doesn't change in playoffs. In fact, it was more in the regular season than it was in playoffs. People think they call it differently in the playoffs. They beg to differ. I haven't delved into the numbers. I saw it. To me, it's the reviews and some of those where we had a goal this year that was kicked in by Filip Hronek, and skate barely left the ice. And I go, that's not a kick. Are you kidding me? And I even called one of the guys in the league after that. I asked for an explanation. I go, man, I've seen 100 that were let in like that. And then I see it in the playoffs go, that's much more egregious than what Hronek did. And yet they're letting that one go in. So I think it's the review process, but it is very hard. They've got referees in the Situation Room in Toronto, retired referees, whether it be Bill McCreary or someone else. So, and I'm getting this from my assistant here, my wife, Rebecca, when you say, by the way, Dean Morton in the hat, can you see that?
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll tell you the story. Okay, so there's two, and on the back of the hat, it says Morty was here 2022, and on the inside of the hat, it's signed by Dean Morton and Wes McCauley. So here's the story. Dean Morton refereed his 999th game at Little Caesars Arena this year. And I'm very close with Dean and very close with Wes McCauley, plus Detroit, meaning 1,000, because he played one NHL game for the Red Wings and scored a goal in 1989 again at this Calgary Saddledome, which is amazing. The building's still friggin' there. But 1989, he scored his lone NHL goal wearing number 5 before Nick Lidstrom. And poor Dean thinks number 5's in the rafters because of him. I really have to tell him, no, it says Lidstrom there. It's not you. So anyway, he had this hat printed up, 999th game plus one, his 1,000th game unofficially as referee. So he gets to pick his crew. So he picks Wes McCauley. It says Wes 150, Dean 148. So Dean, to the story, says, it's the only thing I have on Wes McCauley. He's a much better referee than me, but I was drafted 3 years apart, 148th overall by Detroit. Wes 150. I got him. So that's the story. And Dean gave me that hat. So that's when you mentioned Dean Morton, I had to show you the hat. Show and tell here.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? It's funny too. I played both. I played with Dean and I played with Wes. So those are my only two. Like, I don't have a lot to hang on to. I got some buddies that are still coaching in the league, but those are two guys that played with Dean. We were in the Detroit organization together, and Wes was with the Las Vegas Thunder out here in the IHL. So two guys, great. Good to see Wes. Wes doing a lot of the big games this year, and these are two guys that bring personality to the game too. And people, Ian and I talk about this all the time again, but it's entertainment.
Yeah.
And, we don't really. People are like, well, it's okay if the refs are entertaining too. Like when they give like a roughing call or 2 minutes for fighting, and Morty's throwing his fists up there. It's good. It's kind of fun. You got to separate yourself from the other major sports and make it kind of like must-see TV, and that's how you do it, by bringing personalities out and entertainment. That's what you and Mick try and do, and that's how you grow the game.
Well, thank you. And I think Wes is great when he does that 5 minutes for fighting. And then Dean sort of did that in the game that he worked that I'm referencing that night is sort of like a tribute to Wes. I think refs are just the greatest guys. As Stephen Walken was head of the referees, and he comes to the broadcast meetings, which we haven't had for a couple of years due to COVID. But I remember when Stephen Walken, who again is head of the officials, and he walked in to speak to all the broadcasters to go over the rules and what's going to happen and how they're going to call it, which never winds up being that way. But he gets up there and he said, let me tell you one thing. When a referee walks in the building, the first thought in their mind is not, how am I going to f up this game tonight? Right. It's not. But it's the humanity of the game and it happens, and it's not easy. And I say to Bill McCurry and other guys and Dan O'Halloran, how the hell did you guys have a referee? Just one of you. You couldn't today. So as much as we have the inconsistency of the two ref system, one ref could not handle it today. The guys are so quick.
Isn't
the
that
speed.
Isn't that just because of all the technology we have on the game and the way everybody sees the game? You know, you're overrun with replays and slowdowns and being able to see the different angles, and the referee only has the one angle. And
right.
I think a camera should be on the referee. They should figure out how to put it so you see what he saw.
They used to, and they had one. Sportsnet had it for a while, a referee, you know, from their perspective. But you don't really, if he's turned the wrong way, you wouldn't necessarily see it. You'll see him pointing or whatever he does here. And, you know, when I asked some linesmen about this, you know, when you're on the blue line, if you know what's going to go to video review, do you just play it safe? They said, no, we try to make the right call and let them review it after. But we're not saying, you know, it's going to be this close offside. I think it's offside. Boom, it's offside. Well, maybe it's not. So they make the call that they see it, and they'll go to review where they have to. I think there's almost too much review and the slowdowns. It's funny. Sometimes I look at it and I'm watching it and I'm going, what the hell is taking them so long?
Right.
I mean, we can see it, but then all of a sudden you'll see, oh, there's that. Oh, the stick came in there, and you know, okay, all right, that's a different view. That's why. So there's a good and bad with that.
Which leads me to another question. I think that, what do you think of the game's time? Like 3 hours is basically what a game's taking.
No, game generally, no, Ian, it's really not. A game is it was in 0506, just out of 0506, when the referee on a line change would put up his hand to the one bench. You got to make a change. You got 5 seconds to decide, puck drop, 20 seconds. I know that because you talk about storytelling from other teams. We go to a 90-second break, and if I've got a story and I time it out in my head, that's a crazy thing I have that I can time in my head what it's going to be. I go, I need 25 seconds for this. What's that?
Little OCD.
Yeah, just a little bit. But I can watch television and my wife freaks out, and I can watch TV, and if commercial goes and we'll flip to another channel, and if I'm going back to the game or something else, in my head we'll go turn back now, because I know 90 seconds in my head just from doing it for 25 years or longer with Hockey Night in Canada. I just know what 90 seconds, I know what 2 minutes is. I can time anything just to get to that point. So the games now, out of 0506, when they put up, you know, 20 seconds, make your line change, let's go, 90 seconds out of break. I know I got 20 seconds before they drop the puck. They're pretty quick. Games then were 2 hours and 21 minutes. Without overtime now in a normal game, they maybe crept up with reviews in this to 226, 227, in that range, but it's pretty good. It is.
You think it needs to be shorter, or do you think that's around the time it needs to be?
I think that it's around the time it needs to be. And don't forget, they went a little bit longer in intermission now because of sales ads. They went to 18-minute intermissions. They used to be 16. So now you got another 4 minutes on top of that because your intermission's longer. They used to scrape the ice. Now they used to flood the ice. And then Gary Bettman was at a game one night before a shootout or whatever they're doing, or overtime, and people were leaving. They go, don't do that. So now they just come out and they scrape the ice. What I think needs to be shorter is the regular season. In my mind, it'll never happen because of revenue and players. But my thought always was, what if the players on their contracts took 10% less? Everybody across the board takes 10% less or something to that effect, and you cut the season to 76 games. I think people now with season tickets are trying, and they're selling, all the teams do this with 10-game packages here and there. It's becoming more costly. And as the salary cap goes up, obviously ticket prices are going to rise with it, going along with it. So I think it helps out fans. Maybe fewer preseason games, which the players don't get paid for. It goes to the owners. I get it. There's so many different machinations involved. I'd love to see a 76-game schedule, because I think the Stanley Cup in a normal season should be awarded by the end of May. We shouldn't be playing into June, or a year ago into July. But you have so many US-based owners who are so worried about high school football and college football. They'd rather start the season in November.
Right.
I think if you can saw it off and do, because I think you're going to have a better quality. The players aren't going to be as tired. I'd like to see more of the back-to-back games in the same city, and it became the metrics too hard for the schedule. They did that during COVID. You stayed in the same city. If we went to Boston on a Friday, play there on a Sunday, get the trip out of the way, you're saving costs on fuel. It's expensive. fuel costs, per diem costs, extra days, flying back and forth, wear and tear on the players. I'd love to see a 76 game schedule with a rollback, and you have to acquiesce in other areas for the players. I would love to see that. It'll never happen. It's a pipe dream of mine. I'd like to see the schedule.
I think
shorter.
I think it's a good thing. I think it makes your, it makes your product more of a quality.
It would be. Players wouldn't be hurt. It's so hard with practices and everything. So hard.
But also, I feel like it's the game is on top of you. There's no break really
right
now. So
well, here's the thing, though.
Fans need a little bit of a break. They can't if you're not looking forward to Christmas, if it's the next day again, it's not as exciting. Right.
Yeah.
And part of your thing is the NBA does a great job of marketing itself, and it's very polished TV. You're in and out in about 2 hours and 22 hours and 30 minutes. The NHL is not far behind. The NHL's made a lot of strides, but like Kenny says, the revenue's got to come from somewhere, because the TV isn't going to be close, right? And the salary cap, I'm not sure in the NBA. I know they can pay one guy $30 million, but the salary cap, you got less people. There's a bunch of things adding up, but I agree. 76 games would be great. Trying to get everyone to buy off on it, it's almost impossible. In the NBA, if you look, starts 2 weeks, 3 weeks after. And then it finishes before the NHL. So what you're going to start having as we go through, one of the reasons they sped the game up is so people don't have fatigue with it. If the seasons keep on going longer, and we're giving out the Stanley Cup at the end of June or beyond the middle of June, you're going to have fatigue built in. There's just, you can't avoid it. So I think the numbers say one thing, but you know what? The up and coming demographic of who you want to watch the NHL, this demographics used to having things at their fingertips and happening fast. So it's something they're going to have to look at, I think. Like
we got one more for you, Kenny. We're gonna let you get going here, because we know you got to get going and stuff.
No, I can stay with you all day.
Oh, you know what? Don't say that. Don't say that, because we're gonna have you, but we're gonna make you come back if you say that.
Okay, I'd love to.
I'd love to. We'd love to have you during the season. I know you're busy,
Sure.
but I just love to get your feel, because Detroit's gonna be a brand new bag. So I'd love to see what you think, what goes on there and stuff. But
a brand new bag, but no Ian bag, but a brand new bag. Yes, they just signed, Robert Hague, another defenseman today, as another veteran, hard hitting guy out of Sweden. He's played in the league a bit. They got 6-7 new guys coming in. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Yeah,
should be exciting.
Sorry.
My question for you is, I loved what TBS did this year and their broadcasting, and they took a little bit of seriousness out of the game that I think needed to be taken out. And I wanted to get your feelings on what they did. And I know you probably like to work for them too, so you don't want to slam them, but I'd love to.
No, I'm not going to slam them.
But I'd love to know how you felt about it, and maybe ESPN and seeing how they combined,
I liked the TNT broadcast better. Especially the in-between periods. Biz Nasty, I had the honor of being on his Spit and Chicklets podcast a long time ago. I like what they did, the entertainment value, and Talkit and Wayne Gretzky, and they could have fun with Wayne. And Wayne is a funny guy. Wayne can be very funny, and I think it was very informative. It was different. Some of it maybe was a little hokey at times, but they're trying something different, not just talking heads. And I've said to our people on our intermissions, maybe we should run more features on guys. Maybe it's Mo Sider at home. Maybe it's Lucas Raymond here, Dylan Larkin out somewhere, rather than just, Mickey's looked at the goals, and we can have some of that in the intermission with Murph and Ozzy, but maybe we need to run features and keep people tuned, or do a round table with guys who are in Detroit and give people outside the league. Let's look around the league. Let's do something different. I think we have to try all those things. So I think TNT, I had a tendency to watch TNT more than I did ESPN. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I love Ray Ferraro on the ESPN broadcast. I think Ray's one of the best analysts going in the game, but I also like TNT's production a lot too. Really did.
I think they're not being afraid to make mistakes. It means something. And I don't know why ESPN is so determined to keep it in the box that they've created for hockey. And TNT.
Yeah. They didn't have Biz Nasty, though. They didn't have that guy. I mean, Chelios and Messi are on intermissions. It's not Biz, and you can't force that. Now, granted, they were there through the finals, and next year TNT will have the finals. So what'll be interesting when I think about it, how will TNT, and hopefully they won't change. Hopefully it is what it is. How will they present the Stanley Cup final as opposed to what ESPN did with their studio with Levy, Chelios, and Messier?
Mhm.
Will TNT do what they do during the regular season and Biz Nasty saying and everything else on the air and joking about, oh, the censor people are coming in now? But I love that. It's just natural. You know, I watched Suits on the USA Network, was it on? And I watched Suits for all those years. They said, honestly, they said because they could 8 times a show. And yet I was just on ESPN in the rivalry piece and I called Claude Lemieux a shit disturber and they bleeped out. And I'm going, it's on cable on USA Network. Why are you bleeping out that today? It's 2022. We got more things to be concerned about than that word. I mean, my goodness. So we'll see how TNT presents the Cup final, but I really did enjoy their broadcast. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Those guys were awesome. And one of the things that TNT did is they brought Charles in right away, Charles Barkley.
Yep.
And just being around a guy like that, who him and Shaq, Kenny the Jet, Ernie, you know, like those guys are unbelievable and entertaining. And you never know what they're going to say. It's always funny. They're laughing and joking. So imagine having Charles around, help them a little bit. I'd like to see ESPN use Brian Boucher a little bit more to his strengths next year. I thought going to him in between the intermissions after Chelly and Mess and Steve were, you know, I think Brian Boucher is one of the he's really grown as he's come out of the game. I think he's one of the top guys too. So we'll see, but it's nice to be able to find these games on channels that people have. I think that's the big win. And I know both TNT and ESPN will work, ABC and the TBS group, they'll work towards.
Let me ask you, Sharpie, did you find the games on ESPN Plus easily? See, I don't have ESPN Plus. I got the NHL package, but that's where some people said, you know, when the Red Wing game was up and, you know, Mickey, where the hell's the game? As he's calling me, we're not doing the game. Where the hell's the game? I go, Mick, I can't help you with that. You got to pay your $9.99 a month and whatever, how to find it. But I also have a dish where I can find it, or he couldn't. So that to me was a bit of an issue.
Yeah. No, we couldn't find it until I called the kids and then like, okay, Dad, do this. And I'm like, well, so, you know, and that's the thing is you've got to make like the accessibility of these games. Like I think the Golden Knights and the Wings probably all around at most, I think it was up to 12 games. They were on ESPN Plus here this year in Vegas. You know, that's a big ask. And same with us. So so that's a big ask for your group. That's like, okay, so we got Mick, you know, and Kenny. Okay, we know that. And then ESPN might have them or TNT, and then ESPN Plus is kind of this vague kind of, thing. Now I can find ESPN Plus now, off season, no problem. Trying to watch golf or something, I can find it but yeah, it wasn't easy to start with.
How was the streaming though, Sharpie? How was the streaming on it? It was complaining it was halting.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. Yeah, it wasn't very good. But you know, then we got a new TV, so maybe it wasn't our TV after all. So
no, it may have been or your internet. But I saw a lot of complaints in the Twitter world. About the streaming. And if you're ESPN, maybe it should be better. You're launching that, and that's doesn't help the league and its profile. And that's what going with ESPN and TNT did. And I think going to those two networks this year did raise the profile. I worked for NBC. I worked for NBC when it was Versus before NBC, and actually I worked a couple of games with Brian Boucher from Little Caesars, and Brian is terrific. I saw it at the time that this guy was really up and coming, and then NBC gave him more of a profile, and now I'm with you. Should be even more so. Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
Well, thanks, Ken. We really appreciate you dropping by and talking to us. You really are one of the best. Your son's foundation, the Jamie Daniels Foundation, you do such amazing work. You make me feel proud to be able to be part of it every time you ask me. And the fact that
I'm going to continue to. And I'm going to continue to ask.
Anytime you need anything, you call. And thank you so much, for dropping by and saying hi to us. It means a lot to have the number one
With Mickey and our Bally Sports crew.
We won't have
just
Mickey
us.
on because he'll swear too much. He'll be out.
Oh,
He'll be
he'd
out.
love that.
What's that?
But I'll have to bring Mickey over to my house so he can set it up to do the Zoom. But
I would
that's
love
fine.
that. That would be awesome. Jeff,
Get him
great.
over here. We'll
Absolutely.
get Mickey on.
Well,
We'll-
Mick,
we'll get you
quick
on.
story. Yeah, quick.
Yeah.
I mean, we can tell it when Mick comes on, but I remember in the Joe, Mick would be working with me on the wrister in the slot after pregame skate. Mickey used to come out and skate with us, so he'd come on near the end of practice, and I remember just him and me in Joe Louis Arena, and I love that place, and just this huge building down at the far end, Zamboni end. And he'd be working with me on my wrister and be like, "No, you got to pull it." And to this day, pull and drag. Like you got to get it into your body to release it and build that power. And to this day, from when he taught me and showed me back then, I still, when kids are trying to help them shoot the puck, I go back to Mickey helping me. So the guys,
Nice.
so are you, Kenny. And I agree with
Thank
you.
you.
I'm going to leave it at this. That was a good goal. Hronek did not kick that puck in.
You remember that one?
I
know.
do. I
and what
remember.
really about it was, it would have been worth 3 points in that silly
Yep,
little light
yep.
the lamp game we play. I had Hronek that night. Oh, it bothered me. Maybe that's why I called the league the next day.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank
Have
you,
a
guys.
great day, Ken.
Anytime. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Well, that was fun, Jeff. Always a good time when Ken comes on and tells us everything.
I love it. He's in the right job. He's a play-by-play guy. So the great thing about talking to Kenny Daniels is once you have a subject, he isn't afraid to go deep into it. And, really, if you think about the tag teams, we're losing it here. I'm going down. If you think about the tag teams of the National Hockey League of play-by-play and color people, those two, Kenny and Mick, are two legends. And I really do love the way Kenny calls the game. I think he's one of the best.
One of the best.
And you know what? You can just tell some guys just have the voice and he has it. So
I like the way both of us were quiet. Both of us were like, okay.
Kenny, if Kenny watches this, he'll be all over us. But we're trying to get Kenny back on. I'd like to get him
Throughout
back
the season.
on. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the Atlantic Division has really gotten interesting. You kind of had the haves and the have-nots, but now, you had Buffalo, Detroit, and Ottawa who were kind of scuffling. Now you have Ottawa, who's made a big push this offseason. Detroit, who's made a big push this offseason. And
Mhm.
Buffalo kind of seems like, they've kind of turned the corner as well a little bit. So
You
we'll
hope.
see. Yeah, well, that's that division. I think what you need 100 points to get into the playoffs last year.
Mhm.
Probably. I think Kenny was saying you probably won't need that much, and I would agree. Next year, probably 95 will get you in, just because 94, 95, because of the competition is
Because the teams are
rising.
better, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. You know what interested me about talking to Kenny is he has that referee background. So he comes at the game in a different way than most guys that call the game. Most guys will blame the referee. Kenny will give him the doubt. The benefit of the doubt.
Well, he got pretty animated a couple times this year. And the one goal, I think Hronek, he talked about it, and I agreed with him.
But
I was watching the game. I think that was against Anaheim, if I remember
He
correctly.
wasn't fired up at the referees. He was fired up at head office.
Yeah, Kenny's problem isn't with the refs on the ice. Kenny's problem is with Toronto and New York. Mickey Redmond, Mick's problem
hates
with the
refs.
refs.
Yeah.
But Mick also, I think when you do the games every night and see how the league handles the officiating, I think those guys, they got the best view in the house, right? They're sitting down watching it all. I think that, they're more inclined to go after headquarters than they are the workers on the ice. You know what I mean? Like they're
It's a
going
good-
up after
like
upper
it.
management.
I like it. I like it. Gives it a different point of view. Whereas somebody that didn't referee will probably come down harder on the guys that are on the ice. Anyways, good week. Are you working this week, or are you just being a
Yeah,
bum?
I'm on as we speak.
Uh-huh.
And so far, I turned my phone on do not disturb, but it never seems to really matter when we do the slices. So I might have to run out the door with suitcase trailing behind if I get called, but nothing so far. And but But I do expect to fly this week, Lord Bag. I do expect to fly. So,
Lufthansa canceled all their flights today. That's going to put a mess in the air.
would you know? I think they had a baggage handler strike. So I think they just said, "Yeah, we're done." Yeah, they threatened them the other day, but they said they're going to do like a 3-day strike. So, I mean, it's just crazy out there right now. The prices are crazy. The delays are crazy. And if you have patience, time to spare, go by air. But, you know,
time to spare, go by air. Yeah, but you are right. Like, if you're flying, if you're traveling, calm down. Everybody's overworked. The prices are expensive. I know that we think, oh, this is crazy, I can't believe it. But actual fact, you're still getting there really quickly. It's not taking you months to get across America. It's taking you a couple hours either way. So calm down, time to spare. I don't know what the rest of it.
Yeah, you got half of it. But the other thing to remember is if you were going to drive somewhere right now, I mean, it's going to cost you a lot of money too. Like, let's just say you're going from LA. We're going to use LA to Vegas because we know that road very well, right? So it's $5 a gallon right now. Let's say it's 5 hours. It's 250 miles or whatever it is, 225. Yeah. Right, you do the math on that one on what it's going to cost you.
Yeah, especially can you imagine if somebody bought a big Raptor, how much that's going to cost them? Right
now?
Those
guys, those guys are a bunch of jerks. But yeah, just like those guys in those sport edges. Do you know anyone of those guys that drive down the
buying
freeway?
Tires again? 20. Can you imagine? Can you check this out? 23,000 miles. I have to buy new tires.
Yeah, well, I was sitting in the car experiencing your Mario Andretti fantasy camp, and so yeah, I can totally
You're
get
on fire today, taking everybody down. You're gonna go by air, Mario Andretti, get some new tires.
So we what we did is we just left Kenny and we stopped talking about him. So, like these interviews are cutting into our time.
Yeah, Kenny's getting away of our fun times.
Yeah. So
I want to thank Ken Daniels. For people, go check it out. Jamie Daniels Foundation. If you have some money, give a little bit of money. Ken's doing a good thing. He lost his son a couple years ago, and he didn't just lie back. He's fighting back. So yeah. So go check that out. We'll be back next week. We got another interview. All in the can. We got, as I say, we got an interview in the can. So it'll be a lot of fun. I'm headed off to Houston this weekend for 5 shows in Houston, Texas, not British Columbia.
Hey, you know what? Wouldn't that be something if you ended up in Houston, British Columbia? That would be awesome. And that's kind of the halfway point between Terrace and Prince George. So the people that want to get out and look at your Rand McNally, Houston is a cool little area, but they had the best name and the great colors when it was Junior B up there. Remember, we've talked about them before. The Houston Luckies. I love that name. And they had the orange trim, white jersey with the orange trim, similar to the Flyers. And back in the day, All-Trans, remember All-Trans, which turned into Motorways, which turned into who knows
confused
what.
When you said All-Trans, I'm like, what was the team made of?
That's right. They couldn't call it that anymore, but yeah, it was called All-Trans, and then Motorways bought it. And then I don't know if Canadian Freightways bought it or how it evolved.
And now it's Lindsay's, isn't it? Lindsay's now?
Yeah, maybe they bought it. Who knows? But Houston Luckies, a great name. But Ian's going to be in the other Houston.
I'm in the other Houston.
Houston, Texas. So
I'm going to the one with stoplights. That's how small of a town Houston, British Columbia is. There's the road going to Prince George from Terrace, and you got any shout outs?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to shout out to Brooke Henderson, the LPGA golfer from Canada. She drained a birdie putt of about 12 feet to win the Open in France this weekend. Right. And if you get a chance to Google her sinking the winning putt, I just look at this young lady and I think, I couldn't believe, I just thought to myself, she drained the putt. The other girl had to finish out. She knew she wasn't going to win. Brooke knew she was winning. She didn't. She just kind of gave a little fist pump, a little wave to the crowd, hugged her sister, who's her caddy, and just sat off to the side. I just thought, man, her parents did such a good job with her, and what a great person to cheer for. So Brooke Henderson, probably the most decorated golfer of all time now in Canada. I know Mike Weir won the Masters, and he's the big fish. And we got Adam Hadwin, Corey Connors, Mackenzie Hughes out there on the tour, the PGA Tour. But Brooke Henderson, and I know it's a hockey podcast, but when you see somebody do something fantastic, she won her second major this weekend. And she's from Ontario somewhere, I believe, but good for her. And of course, a great hockey name, Henderson.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go.
And Brooke, and she drained it all about water with her.
You're coming back hard. Those people in Houston this weekend, you'll have to get up on stage and say, hey, I thought this was going to be Houston, British Columbia. They'll be just like, what are you talking about?
Just to let you know that I know your sister city, Houston, British Columbia. Yeah. Most people have no idea there's a border outside of Texas. So it'll be fun.
No. Hey, you got to tell everybody, though, quickly before you give your shout out, one of the best lines, and I hope you use it this weekend. So talk about the don't mess with Texas. That's one of my favorites.
I always thought it was supposed to be a tough guy thing. It turns out they really don't like litter in Texas. Really.
That's the best. Hey, don't mess with Texas.
Guns. They got their guns. They think they're all don't mess with Texas. They might as well get pickup sticks for all the garbage is what they might as well get.
They've got the biggest flags in the world in Texas too.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But yeah, don't mess with Texas because they'll be right behind you picking up the litter. But
I'm gonna give a shout out. Who am I gonna give? I don't even have one. I want to give one to my parents because I was bugging them the other day and driving them nuts. I had a good conversation because I had to get the tires. Oh, Gary's having. I love talking to Gary. I goes, you got to get tires, huh? Man? And I told him which ones I was gonna get. He goes, well, where are they made? And just stopped the whole conversation. I had no clue where they're made. I'm like, I don't know. I know where they're getting put on. Costco.
Costco, that's the place to go down here.
And he just shakes his head. I know at the end of every car conversation, he's just confused that a mechanic raised such a tool shed that can't figure anything out. So big shout out to my dad for raising a comedian. Not what he wanted.
No. Oh, well. Hey, but you know what? Costco, you can't lose getting tires there in the States. But if you're in Terrace, get them at Calum Tire.
You just dropped a shout out to Costco.
One
of our new sponsors.
Well, I just dropped one to Calum Tire in Terrace. And then what's the other one?
Do they even exist anymore?
Yeah, I think Calum Tire is right. It's there. But there's another one. I want to say Cedar. It's not Cedar River, though. Sorry, guys. Rick Latosky used to work there. Sorry, I can't remember the name of it right now. But
I'll tell you how my computer works. I just got an email from Costco as we mentioned them 4 times. Yeah. Were you speaking of us?
Okay.
All right.
Is that it? Hey, that's a great view in the back. Done. So we're done.
That it? I'm done.
I'm just sour. We've got one in the can, and I got to come back next week, and we got to do the openings again. I have the best shout out in the world next week, though. So if you don't want to hear our interview next week, I got a shout out to end all shout outs next week.
You'll want to hear we got Davis Payne from the Ottawa Senators dropping by to have a little conversation for us. And it was great. After we did the interview, I talked to him. He goes, I didn't know what you're getting me into. I did your comedy show last time. So when you guys were serious, I was confused for a bit.
Yeah. Davis is awesome. He's had a heck of a career. Another guy that's been in the game forever and done really well. And but you know what? Let's leave off. You did your shout out. I did mine. We'll leave off on another guy that's been in the game forever, Kenny Daniels. Thanks, Kenny. It was awesome. Love to all.
Love to all.